What's going on? Damn, I'm stuck in traffic. This is crazy. But whatever, man. I might as well get these videos out the way. All right, so Jake Paul had his little event on Triller, and according to reports, I think they said it's done about 1.4 million views, and some people are like, oh, how is it that they can find, get the numbers so fast and this and that is just BS? Not necessarily. It's an app. You know what I mean? So when you have an app and people have to go directly to your app, app in order to purchase the fights, instantaneously, how many subscription, how many what's it called, pay-per-views you sold. It's different than like the regular pay-per-views where you have multiple cable networks that are purchasing all this. So then you have to wait for all that information to come in, and they're purchased from all different sections around the country. It's different in that type of situation. You gotta wait. Sometimes it takes them a long time, weeks, even months, to get all the numbers in. So that's completely different than this type of situation. When you have an app and they're going directly to the app, just like the zone knows, and when they have an event, they know exactly how many people have actually viewed that fight. The only thing with them now is, let's say with their pay-per-views, they might not necessarily have the numbers instantaneously, just due to the fact that they have, they're trying to team up with cable companies where you can like go to your cable box, select the zone, and then purchase the pay-per-view. So because they have it like that, it will take them time sometimes to get the numbers, but we don't hear anything about their numbers. We didn't hear nothing about Canelo's last two fights, which were, I believe, the last one, was it the last two or the last one was a pay-per-view? Yet we didn't hear about any numbers. Zero. And his next fight is also going to be, you can either do a subscription or you can get the pay-per-view. Let's see if we get those numbers. But as far as, in general, yeah, you should be able to get the numbers when you're an app, because they're coming directly to you in order to get that service. Now, as far as the event themselves, I'm hearing a lot of people trying to comparing and saying, oh, all the boxers need to take notice. Like, this guy, he's not even a boxer. In his third fight, he's already doing these many, this many buys or whatever it is. And they should be ashamed of themselves. And it's like somehow it's making boxing look bad. But the reality of the situation is this not necessarily wasn't even a boxing event. It's more of, this was a Jake Paul event. You know what I mean? It was a type of thing where he has a lot of followers. This guy has he's built from the ground up. He's built himself basically an empire. He's built himself a huge base of subscribers that support him, over 20 million plus that support him. He puts out any video, he's gonna do 1.5, 2 million 2 million views or whatever it is on his channel. Out of those 20 million subscribers, people that are subscribed to him, he has like 5% that are willing to put up bread in order to watch him. And Triller did a great job, obviously, of promoting the event. And they made I could see them making a killing, because it's just a small, it's a small portion of them who would be willing to buy the pay-per-views, to buy the pay-per-view in order to watch him. And especially after the Nate Robinson thing also, that kind of just, he went viral, and that just kind of catapulted him to another whole, to a whole other level. Where he's also busted his tail, and he has gotten a certain level of skill. He can't mess with the pro fighters or anything like that, like the top tier guys or anything like that. But he's really busted his tail the last 3 years to really, hone his skill the best that he can. He's just not just coming out here. Like, if you're a regular dude, you're not going in against Jake Paul and beating him. Reality, he's probably going to flatline you, because, he does have a certain level of skill at this point. He actually has put in a lot of work to get to where he's at right now, so, and he's a big dude, so, you know what I mean? And obviously, that plus the combination of him putting in so much work of building the fan base that he built. His brother opened up this lane, when he did his fight, and he walked right through it. He saw what his brother was doing. He saw what his brother did was successful, and he walked into that lane, and he's just taking it to like a whole other level, and they both seen this. They saw that, hey, you know what I mean? They saw this is a niche that we can get into, and we can make some real bread off of this. And our people will really support us. Our subscribers will really support us when it comes to this, and they're making a killing off of it. And I guess you could say, since it is quote boxing, they are boxing, I guess you could say it does make, other boxers look bad because they're not doing anything near what he's doing. So, and people are like, oh, it's because all the top fighters aren't fighting each other, this and that. I don't think it's even necessarily that. That, yes, is true. But even with the top fighters fought each other, that doesn't necessarily mean they would be doing numbers like this either. My main thing is, I think when it comes to these fighters, is that a part of you being big and you progressing to the next level is also you building your brand as a fighter. You gotta build your brand as a fighter. And most of these fighters, pretty much none of these fighters do that. None of these fighters do that. Like, Ryan Garcia is great at talking. He's great at social media. If he had the skills, let's say of like a Ennis, where he could bang out with the top dudes, he would be a superstar right now at his young age. At a young age of, I don't know how old he is, 23 years old, 24 years old. At that age, he would be a superstar right now, doing 1 million pay-per-views right now. If he was able, especially if he had the skills where he was able to take on like a Devin Haney and a Tanks and things of that nature, he would be able to do some numbers. He would be able to do some numbers. But the thing is that the big part when it pertains to that is that you have to build yourself. When it comes to Jake Paul, he can come into boxing and fight anybody and fight all just, these unknowns, because the people that are buying his pay-per-views are not necessarily boxing fans, but there are people that follow him. If you're a boxer, you need to get yourself into the space where these boxing fans are going to support you and buy your pay-per-views. You need to put yourself into a space where you can get this following, where also the casual fans really start to like you, where they might not watch boxing, but they're going to watch when you fight. Like Floyd Mayweather. I'm like, a lot of people don't watch, there's a lot of people who might not watch boxing matches, but when Floyd Mayweather used to fight, they would buy the Floyd Mayweather fight. They would set up whole parties around the Floyd Mayweather fight, regardless of who he was fighting. They would set up, hey, hot rollers. Oh, Floyd Mayweather's fighting? Yeah, I'm going to be there. I'm definitely going there. We go into that event, and they'll stack up their money. They'll pay that. And they don't even go to boxing events. They don't even watch boxing, but they're going to go watch that, though. We're going to watch Floyd, though. We're going to put up this 10 grand to get these front row seats so we can watch this fight. And we're going to have a ball this weekend. And none of these guys out here really are putting in the work, especially from the beginning, to build themselves to that level. If you're a boxer and you're just coming in, and I don't care who it is, Ellis, Ennis, Ortiz Jr., all these guys, you 18, 19 years old, you should have a following. You should be promoting yourself. It's not hard. Grab an effing phone. Put out information. I'm going, at 15 years old, you should already have a following. You should already be building up a following. When you're having your little tournaments, when you're working out, when you're going to, when these tournaments, when you go into those, you should already, at 16, 17, 18, when you turn pro, you should have a archive already of videos. You should have a massive archives. If you get into the point where you can act, when you go into the Olympic trials, when you're going to, let's say if you're good enough and you're lucky enough to go to the Olympics, or if you don't go to the Olympics and you just turn pro at 17, 18, and have these people follow your journey and have them like really be focused on you. You should be able to get yourself into a space where you got 1 million followers by then already. Or at least a couple of 100,000 followers or whatever it is. And, and just growing it and letting that build. Then you start your pro career, your first fight, your second fight, you just like, there's this kid, Russell Orheath. Go look him up. Okay, Russell Orheath. He's a freaking bodybuilder. He's not a bodybuilder. He's a weightlifter. He's a power lifter, right? It's not this is not a big sport like that. It's a very niche sport. Very, very niche sport. But he started doing videos, just training videos. He'll put out a couple of maybe 1-2 videos a week when he has a he's got to the point where he finally got a professional, photographer, somebody professional that actually does his videos and stuff. But you don't have to. If you don't have the money for that, it's fine. You don't have to do that. You have a freaking cell phone, you can do this. A freaking cell phone, you can do this. And he'll just train. He'll show his training. He might show what he's eating. He'll show what he's kind of doing during the week. He'll show what his plans are. He kind of shows all that. And puts that up. And by doing that, he's gained this huge, he got a lot of subscribers and this huge support base that he has, where he puts out videos. He'll do 50,000 views, 100,000 views, 200,000 views, 50, 45, 50,000 views, where he puts out merchandise and they buy the merchandise, where they watch his videos, where, and he gets, obviously because of ads and everything on his video, he gets money for that too. And he's been able to, in this niche sport that usually no one watches, he's been able to put himself into a space where he's making a killing off of it, just because he built himself up as a brand and put himself into a space where people are, watch him and support him. When there's weightlifting competitions, they get crazy views as well. Even the regular channels that get, the channel for that sometimes they'll have a channel that actually shows it, like the IPL or whatever it is, the organization that he watches, and people will be watching that, just because they want to see him perform. They want to see where he ends up. Where in this sport, usually these guys will be champions for years. No one will know who the F they are. They'll be the guys of the sport. No one will even know who the hell they are. He walks around town, they know who the F he is. He goes to certain places, he's getting stopped because he's built himself up. He's built his brand up from the ground. From the freaking ground. And these fighters out here, they're not doing the same thing. For whatever reason, they get a couple of M's, they getting 500,000, they getting $1 million a fight, and they feeling themselves. Oh, I got my nice car, I got my nice crib, which I sit there and I'm just shaking my head like, you freaking moron. If you actually invested time in building up your career, you could be getting 10 million, 15, 20 effing million a fight. How is the guy that's making hundreds of millions in a fight, busting his tail in Floyd Mayweather, promoting himself better than you? How is that guy that's making hundreds of millions of dollars in the gym and staying focused more than you? Why are you the one that's out of shape all the time? Why is you the one, that needs to get himself focused? The guy that's making $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, maybe even $5 million, which seems like a lot of money. People say, yeah, that's a lot of money, but it's nowhere near where you should be making. Nothing near what you should be making. I know people that, what I do, people that are not licensed, that do the previous thing I used to do, not licensed, and with that particular job, they'd be getting paid nothing. When literally all they have to do is go to take classes, they're in accelerated programs, stack up 6G so you can take the accelerated program because they have something set up for people who already, doing the job already, doing the work already, where you can get the license and you can triple the amount of money you make. But they're not willing to invest that additional time. So because of that, they're literally sitting there making 3 to 4 times, sometimes less than what I used to make doing that. It's crazy. And I'm just sitting there like, wow, this is crazy. So there's other people, you're already doing all the training. You're already doing all the freaking fighting, but you're not willing to invest the time like a Floyd Mayweather would do as far as promoting himself. So you can do the same effing thing that you're doing, but get paid freaking 3-4 times more. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I used to just sit there and I transitioned from that into what I'm doing now, personal business owner, making a freaking killing. Where these people could do the same exact thing, but they choose not to. But then you'll sit back and they'll complain about the position that they're in. Or they'll just be sitting there feeling themselves. Yeah, I'm getting my 2 M's. Yeah. I got my 1.5 M. I'm getting my $500,000. Yeah. But I'm shaking my head. It's not even a hater thing because I'm saying you should be making 10, 15. You got the skills. You got all the skills. You're already doing all the work, but you're not willing to do this additional work to bring your brand up. That's why Gary Russell's in the situation that he's in. Because he's not willing to build up his brand. He just wants to fight once a year. So, because these guys won't fight, F those guys. Fight 3 times a year. Fight twice a year. Get that social media. Put in that work as the businessman that you are, because that's your brand. Build your brand. You're great at talking. When the world was open, you never saw him at any events. You should be going to the events like Spence used to do all the time. Like freaking what's his name? Deontay Wilder used to do all the time. You know how many fights I've been to that I've seen Deontay Wilder at and he's not even fighting? And he's out there with him and his wife because he's able to, he's building up his brand even further. That didn't just happen. It wasn't just handed to him. people didn't want to fight these two guys, but they put in the work. Ennis, he can be big just as Deontay Wilder is. He can be big just as Errol Spence is. But again, he's going to need to put in the work as well in order to do so. They are two guys who were in the same position as Gary Russell was in, but they put in the work and put themselves into a position where it got to the point where these guys came to see them like, yeah, I want to fight him because he's the bag now. Gervonta Tank Davis, he does, he has a certain personality that gravitates people towards him, and he got himself into the space where Santa Cruz is willing to say, you know what, you give me that guy. And you can't tell me that, he's scared of Gary Russell, who you can go 12 rounds with and be okay and be able to fight three months later, but he's not scared of the guy that reality is probably going to flatline and put your lights out because he's pretty much done that to everybody that he's fought. It's just that Tank got himself to the point where, yeah, that's the bag right there. I'm going to get paid off that. I'm going to make $7 million off that dude. When that gate in the pay-per-view comes in, I'm going to make $7 to $10 million off that dude. And now Tank's about to fight this. This guys won't fight me. That guys want to fight me. Tank's people understand, okay, we don't want him to fight Haney, whatever, whatever, when it comes to that. You know what I mean? Or Eddie's not going to want to do that regardless anyway. But whatever. All these other dudes, we know Teofimo Lopez ain't going to fight us. We know Ryan Garcia isn't going to fight us. So you know what? Yeah, let's do this fight over here. That's going to be a big fight for us. And they're going to do 300,000 plus pay-per-views or so. But, if Tank was to start fighting those other dudes, if they'll get themselves into a situation where those other fights could happen, yeah, he'd be doing a million pay-per-views. He'd become that kind of star because he needs to, even with him, even though he's doing cool, he's probably going to do 250,000 pay-per-views again. He's going to put 5 into his pocket, but he's actually so people gravitate to him in a way where if he was facing these other dudes, man, and they could get that on and popping with those other guys, he would do $1 million plus all day. And he's a fighter that's actually making good money. He probably generates $5+ million a fight that he actually brings home, where he could be making 20, 30 or more. But most of these guys are just not willing to do the work that it takes them to progress and get them into the space where they can make that kind of bread and become to the levels of where this guy is. But this guy was willing to bust his tail and progress and get himself into a place where he had that type of following, not even in boxing. So when he finally came into something like boxing, they were willing to follow him and they're willing to support him to the levels that they're supporting him. And just a small portion of the people that follow him willing to pull up that bread. But it was enough where you end up $65+ million. And that's what it is. But hey, to each his own. Like, subscribe, share. I'm out.